Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing and welcome from Gdansk, Poland. Well, my apartment in at Gdansk, rented, not owned, I hasten to add. Anyway, because I'm doing a bit of travelling, I'm playing catch up with the fights that were on at the weekend. And one that you absolutely must see, because it's a fantastic fight, took place between Eduardo Nunez and Christopher Diaz. Okay, now this was the first defence of Nunez's super featherweight title. Diaz has fought twice for the title in the past. There's never won it. He didn't come out on top, but nevertheless, a very, very good fighter. A very good fighter. He came in with 30 wins, 19 KOs, and 5 defeats. Only one of those defeats is inside the distance. He got stopped by Emmanuel Navarrete in the 12th and final round. That was in a title fight in 2021. And prior to this, in 2018, he fought the Japanese champion Masayaki Ito, lost a unanimous decision over there in Japan. I think it was in Japan anyway, was it? Must have been in Japan. But anyway, the point is that he is, in danger of becoming, never the bride, always the bridesmaid sort of thing. This was his third attempt, possibly his last attempt at a world title. But he nevertheless, Christopher Diaz, he is an absolutely terrific fighter. I think the Ito fight, thinking about it, I think that might have been in America. Because very usually Japanese fighters will fight in Japan, but this might have been an exception. But anyway, he did lose the unanimous decision. There's no shame in being stopped in 12 rounds by Navarrete either. I mean, Navarrete is an extremely good fighter. And in other words, he lost to Henry LeBron over 10 rounds. LeBron, an undefeated fighter in 19. He lost a majority decision to Isaac Dogbay. This was in 2021 when Dogbay was still a threat. I mean, he has that gatekeeper, very high, sort of like a B- level fighter, if you want to grade him. Maybe a B level fighter perhaps, but maybe not good enough to get over the finishing line in world title fights against the absolute elite. Well, I actually think that he might still go on to win a world title. Because he's only 30, which is not excessively old. It's not like in his mid to late 30s. He's only 30. And he deserves, I know it sounds strange, because if a guy's had 3 world title fights and has lost them all, but he actually deserves another shot. In fact, I'd pay to watch him fight Sugar Nunez again, because Nunez versus Diaz might well end up being the fight of the year. Certainly the 12th round was a thing of beauty. A lot of these rounds were things of beauty. Nunez is now 29 wins with 27 KOs, very heavy puncher. One defeat, which I suppose you could put down as being a sort of learning situation. He lost a 6th rounder early in his career, about 6 or 7 years ago. But he won the world title, and as this was his first defence, he actually won the world title against Masanori Rishiki. This is the IBF version of the title, by the way. And unanimous decision, he won it. He can't have anticipated such a grueling, tough, fiery maiden defence. Or maybe he did. Maybe he'd seen Diaz before and thought, this guy can really fight. But this was an absolute barn burner. Great fight. It started off really quite, almost like a chess match. It was weird. The first 2-3 rounds, you're thinking, well, this isn't what we were expecting. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Diaz was doing really well in the early rounds. He was fighting really conservatively, using his jab very well. Very good jab. Not firing that many punches, but kind of containing Nunez, containing him, keeping him on the end of the stick. Real disciplined, strong boxing from Christopher Diaz. And then you got the feeling that, okay, you know, if you don't want this fight to sort of creep away from you, to sort of drip away from you, you're going to have to get stuck in. And sure enough, Nunez went through the gears and started to let his hands go. And Diaz was only too happy to comply. They started to exchange these real like salvos of punches. It's fantastic actually to watch. But the discipline and the skill set from both fighters was still there. It wasn't as if they were, you know, punking out sort of thing. I mean, this was fantastic stuff. They weren't one guy wasn't going into his shell, and the other one was, you know, letting it all hang out. And you know, then they switch. No. This was two guys simultaneously banging heads, bang, 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 and that's what it was. Without any sort of lack of skill. The skill was still there. Now Nunez had a very, very high guard. Not Nunez, excuse me. Diaz had a very, very high guard. Nunez was still able to land some good hooks, especially around the corner of the guard. There were some good body punches going in. Didn't seem to have the remotest effect on Diaz. He just kept coming forward, and make no mistake about it, he was letting his hands go and landing flush as well. At no point, I have to say, did Nunez look hurt. Sometimes you get a guy who's a banger, very heavy hands, who doesn't like it put on him, doesn't like, you know, he doesn't have a great chin or whatever. This is not the case with Sugar Nunez. The guy's got 27 KOs in 29 fights, but make no mistake about it, he's got a very good chin, very good gas tank as well, as has Diaz. And I think after 5 rounds, I had Diaz winning 4 of them. I mean, I thought Diaz is doing brilliantly here. But then in the middle rounds, the pendulum swung considerably in the other direction. And you had the 7th round in which Nunez scored 2 knockdowns. The first was it was a right hand, and Diaz sort of touched down without really being knocked down, if you know what I mean. I think that the canvas looked slippery throughout this entire card. This fight, by the way, was in Los Mochis in Mexico. But the canvas looked slippery, and even though a punch connected, you felt for Diaz because it looked like he slipped a bit. But they counted, or the referee counted, and then 30 seconds later, he's on the canvas again. Now again, the footwork, the canvas did look slippery, but there's no doubt that this was a legitimate punch that put Diaz over. He got up, no problem, I'm fine, you know, carried on. But clearly a 10-7 round was going to narrow the gap. In the 8th round, sure enough, Diaz had recomposed himself, came back, and fantastic. I mean, I thought he won that round. And from then on in, it was you know, pretty much a controlled, well-schooled slugfest. Again, this wasn't slugging. This was highly educated boxing, but with a lot of grit, power, determination, and all those things we love about boxing. And into the final round, yeah, I mean, they just let it all hang out. This was a fantastic fight. Go and have a look at it. The cards were too wide for me. I mean, okay, you've got that. You see, I had this 114, 112 for Sugar Nunez, which is 6 rounds each, but a 10-7 for the 7th round. The judges had it something like, what was it? What would they have it? Something like an 8-4 fight or something like that, or even a 9-3 fight. No, it wasn't that wide at all. I mean, okay, Nunez is the hometown favourite, but I thought no, this is way too wide, and I think the whole thing is that left a bad taste. But the right man, you could say, did win. Yeah, I mean, I do wonder about the judging, of course, like all the rest of you. there is a subjectivity to it, but when you have a fight like that, I mean, he could have scored it. Apart from the knockdown, I thought it was a draw. 2 knockdowns made the difference, but I just find the whole thing with judging, I mean, you know, you do get the feeling that Diaz would have had to have knocked him out to win with that type of judging. But it was a fantastic fight. I won't dwell too much on that, because even though it does leave a bad taste, the width of the cards, it was still a fantastic fight. And like I say, I think Diaz does deserve another title shot, even though he's now got 6 defeats on his record and 3 of them are world title shots. No, I mean, I think he deserves a shot. They're talking about the next fight for Nunez being against Navarrete. That would be a fantastic fight, a right old tear up, another right old tear up. But don't miss this one. Go and have a look at it. It was on DAZN. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. And tell me especially what you think of the judging. You know, do you think that the right guy won? You know, but I want to hear your comments on the judging. All right, thank you very much for watching the video. Hit the like button if you did enjoy the video, because that helps us out, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. And thank you very, very much for listening. I always support Joe Stunner Boxing. Spread the word. You know, it makes sense. All right, ladies and gents. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.